Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. Today, I have a special guest. She goes by the name of Autumn Reed. How are we doing today, Autumn?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself, Francisco?
Good. So, for my guests who don't know you, please give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am a, a Wisconsin-based composer, orchestrator, producer of music, all things music. Currently, I am one of my biggest music projects at this point is that I'm a string bass player for the Black String Triage Ensemble based in Milwaukee. That ensemble is directed by David Hallman, where we members of the ensemble, it's a string ensemble, play after um, tragic events like shootings, drug overdoses around Milwaukee as a peacekeeping mission. Excuse me, as a peacekeeping mission.
Nice. So, I've never had a composer on the show. So, typically, how long does it take you to write your own music?
Um, Honestly, it can take a while because um, I'm a very persnickety person. I'm very critical, but I know that I don't have to be that way because a lot of people like what I've written so far, and many people have commissioned me to write works for them, especially the Madison. I'm sorry, the Music Theater of Madison, where I have written a couple of songs for some productions, and I've also have done some orchestrations for an up and coming playwright named Ralph Oscar Selby. Um, so I just try to pace myself, listen to feedback when I write for other people, and just trust that what I'm writing is good enough. And if it's not, they will tell me. And I don't have a problem making changes. I'm not egotistical. I just want to make sure that I can help their vision flourish.
So, when did you realize you had a passion for music and composing music? Because that's something tough. A lot of people don't know how to read music. A lot of people don't know how to write music. So, at what point in your life did the light switch go on and say, "Hey, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do"?
Well, when I was in fourth grade, we had the strings program. That's when we were eligible to start, taking lessons on violin, viola, and cello. And one of our first assignments was, learning the open strings like D and A, and then how to put your fingers down in the notes. Um, and my teacher, I remember her name is Miss McCarty. That's right. And the assignment was to try to write your own song using like the notes that we learned. So um, I enjoyed it, even though it was just a song just on one string, pretty much. I was like, oh wow, this is fascinating, and I just try to like write my own melodies ever since. I was also really inspired a lot by the Disney and like maybe Nickelodeon like shows, like movies, like Aladdin or in Pocahontas, um, in Mulan, where like was it like one of my favorite composers from Disney is like Alan Menken, and then there's like Stephen Schwartz and uh, Howard Ashman, where I learned like, oh wow, and like watching the credits and realize that all the like these same names are like of the same people that are writing all my favorite songs. So it's like, wow, that's really fascinating, and like some movies are like very different from each other, and I just found that interesting that like one person can be responsible, or just a handful of people can be responsible and breathing life and character into the songs that a character sings and feels about, like what was it's like an example like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast is very very different than from the genie from Aladdin. Like they're two very different people, but it's like wow, it's like similar people are writing their voice. It's like the words that they sing. So
So did you shape a lot of your music that you compose now? Have you taken bits and pieces from other composers and made it into something yourself? Like what is the style? Like do you compare yourself to another composer, or have you created something of your own that's distinguishable?
Well, that's a journey that I wish. Sorry, let me let me back up and rephrase this. That's an answer that I wish that I would know more. It's like a journey that I've been trying to find and develop my own sound after many years. So I mean, at first, I would I didn't want to like sound like other people, but it's inevitable. It's just how it is. But that's an answer that I'm still trying to figure out. But the best answer that I can give to you is more the what my inspiration is. A lot of like the movie musicals, just musicals in general. I do like a lot of jazz, um, classical music, and like pop and R&B, because that's most of the music that I was exposed to as a child.
Mhm.
My mother really liked R&B, disco, funk, the new wave. My father liked jazz as well. He liked to listen to some classical music just because it kind of calms his mind down, because he had a lot going on. He's a businessman, he's, the realtor, and thinking about a lot of things. So he said that was just calming, and it does have a calming effect. My mom's dad, he was a blues guitarist.
Nice.
Yeah, his name is T.J. Charles, and this past February, he would have turned 100.
Wow.
Yeah, so he played blues guitar. So I really he was another influence on me, like indirectly. He lived in Arkansas for most of my life until he became older, and unfortunately passed away in Wisconsin. But every time I would ever see him, he was always pleasant and always, talking about music and playing, and like I need to practice my scales, and he's right. I
Yeah,
should
yeah.
practice all the scales, and know all the try to know as many chords as you might want. That I really miss that about him. So.
So did you have any mentors besides him? Was there anybody that you turned to help you with learning the music? Did you go to school for this? Did you go to what was the educational process for you learning this stuff?
Well, um, well, even though I grew up in a suburban home, in the Madison area of Wisconsin, I didn't have like too many musical opportunities that I could really pursue. Um, it just, family had other obligations, a lot of obligations in the congregation, and unfortunately, our congregation didn't really offer, like worship band or worship choir, there just wasn't an option. So most of my musical outlet was just me alone in my room watching movies, looking at those music books about how to play, like sheet music for like my favorite musicals like Grease and like The Sound of Music. But I just it never went away, even when a lot of people um thought that I should have did other things with my life, like I don't know, become a nurse, or uh what was the other thing? um I don't know, just stuff that wasn't music related, that what is I wanted to do. But I still just kept at it. I did do orchestra and jazz band when I was in high school. I played upright bass and electric bass.
Mhm.
And yeah, I switched from violin to string bass when I was in like fifth grade. I did have piano lessons growing up. It's kind of funny how I got the lessons. Was my parents bought an upright piano, and my dad wanted lessons, but he was busy, so he got myself and my younger sister piano lessons. Um, but prior to that, I was about 7. He had these adult beginner books, and I was 7. I was still fairly literate, very literate, liter. Sorry, literate. Sorry, I'm a little tongue tied. Should probably grab a sip of tea because my voice. I'm still kind of getting over a voice loss that happened a couple of weeks ago. It's just Wisconsin weather. It's just too cold. But anyways, um, I tried reading his books because I was like, okay, if Dad can try to learn to play the piano reading these books, maybe I can. So I did, but I wasn't able to really try to get to the two hands together. But
So,
eventually, oh, I'm
so
sorry.
essentially, you're self-taught. Basically, you just essentially just did all this stuff yourself.
I wouldn't say that. I did have guidance. I did have a couple of piano teachers. My first teacher, his name was Mr. Rip, and I was in elementary school, and then he moved away, and then there's a young lady. Her name is Miss Johnson. Well, at the time, I know she got married, and she was a member of our congregation, and she gave piano lessons, and then she moved. um, and then I was just kind of, just doing the music stuff at school, still looking at books on, how to play songs from movies or even TV shows. And then when I was, I want to say maybe a junior in high school, I got piano lessons again with, his name is Mr. Erickson. And he did more with jazz and starting to learn more about music theory, a little bit more intense. Like there's some, I want to say, tropes that I did pick up and like just from like reading music, like, oh, okay, like these chords tend to go to this other chord, and we started looking at was it the Mark Levine, the jazz piano book? I think that's the name. I have it lying around here somewhere, but
So, what has been the biggest challenges for you when it comes to the music, being in the music industry? Composing music. What have the challenges that you run into so far?
well, one of the challenges is staying in the music industry.
Mhm.
it's it's just kind of tough, especially with like the pandemic. Um, I've had a lot of different struggles over the years with my mental health. I want to say, trigger warning before to your audience that I have attempted to take my own life or unalive myself. I don't know how you want to edit that wording so it's not like offensive or triggering to anybody who's going through mental health struggles, but there's some things going on in my life that just weren't super great, just around people who really weren't supportive of my goals or who I am. But it made it hard just trying to make community, and now I'm to a point where I can I am making community, especially with the triage ensemble. um I tried doing that with like the colleges as well. I went to Madison area technical college. Well, I'm sorry, Madison College. The full name is Madison Area Technical College, but they went through a rebranding overhaul when I was there, and they're just like, when we're Madison College, because the abbreviation is MATC, and it was confusing people with Madison. I'm sorry, Milwaukee Area Technical College, and so it was just like a branding thing. So it's Madison College. Went there, graduated, got an associate's degree. I participated in the Madison Community Orchestra. So we played, classical symphonic works, like the whole like Beethoven's Symphony, and I totally faked the second movement. But anyways, we'll go on. Um, I did go to UW Madison. Um, didn't have the greatest experience. I for a variety of reasons, and that's like when I had like my first hospitalization for mental health issues. And eventually I ended up dropping out. I actually had a retroactive drop. But long story short, I took some couple of courses online from Berklee College of Music, It's just like two of them, and then I officially enrolled in 2018 and or 2017, like that December, and like that's when I got that acceptance letter. And then I started the January semester, and I graduated summa cum laude. Um, and I went out there on site a couple of times, and I just like, yeah, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
Even though I lived in Wisconsin the whole time, um, I went to Berkeley, I still felt community virtually. And one gentleman that I'd like to mention, because today, fortunately, is the second year anniversary of his passing. His name was Gordon Francis Blaney Jr. He tragically passed away in a car accident 2 years ago, just before a lot of massive lockdowns due to COVID-19. He was a man who was also a Berkeley alum. He lived in um, Massachusetts, like kind of like the Boston area. I kind of get those areas kind of mixed up because I'm not from the East Coast, but he was very knowledgeable about music, especially orchestration and composition. And like me, he also had struggles with mental health. He was on the autistic spectrum, had some like depression, and he also had epilepsy as well. So, um, so someone that like wanted to keep going with music, but despite having health issues. And so he was a big inspiration to me, and I'm really sad that he's gone. So
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. When you are close to somebody that, is part of your life that's helped you with something you love to do and they tragically pass, it makes things tougher for you. Like, so I can relate to you when it comes to mental health. I've been there. I've tried when I was younger to unalive myself
mhm.
at one point as well. So I get it. I get how the pressures can be. And, you have to find people that can help, that you can talk to. And a lot of people don't realize, certain things help you get past that. Like for me, when I was young, was my art. I used to draw. When my dad died when I was 11 years old. I went deep depression for 2 years, and
Mhm.
what kept me going was my art, is drawing. Now as I'm older, the only time I can draw is when I'm depressed. When I'm not depressed, I can't put anything to paper.
Mm.
It's a mental thing. I don't know what it is, but I understand. I'm there with you. I've been there. I can relate to that, and I understand how hard it can be to overcome those things. So, is the music for you therapy? Does it help you in a lot of ways?
Yes, yes, it does. Especially when I think about the technical excuse me, the technical aspects that go into making music. It's just amazing and fascinating. And it's like, wow, like this track, it has this sort of chord progression and this sort of key, and it's using this kind of rhythm that I've heard in another song, and it's like we're all like connected. And you think about all these universal. Um, I'm sorry, I kind of blanked. And sometimes I do that. I'm just like, oh, I get super excited. I don't remember what I was talking about. But just everything that like I noticed, like, wow, this is so like we all are doing like the same thing pretty much, and it's like, wow, it's amazing,
Yeah, everything connects. Everything connects in one
Yes.
way or another. We're all connected in one way or another, and sometimes we just have to keep digging to find that connection. But once we do, it's amazing. Amazing things can happen when it comes to that. So uh, you do a lot of social work with the orchestras after things happen. You go out with the group, and like anytime there's a tragedy, you guys go out and you perform.
Yes. Well, not necessarily like every single time. We just have set days during the summer. That's just Fridays and Saturdays around Milwaukee. Davin will log on to like the police dispatch that's open to the public, like the dispatch website page, and we'll just load up our instruments and go and play. Um, and we play music that's only by black and brown composers, because unfortunately our community is people of color disproportionately affected by these shootings and overdoses in Milwaukee. Um, and but there it's not to say that there's never going to be um, orchestras for other people of different ethnicities to participate. Um, this past December was like, I want to say I think it was the inaugural concert for the Black Diaspora Symphony Orchestra, which was for all people, and we played a couple of pieces by we played Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. We played Adoration by Florence Price. Um, what else did we play? Was that I'm like blanking on it, but I know it was by Grieg. But but it was to honor the death of children who had passed away due to gun violence, just everywhere. Sadly, um, back in October, I my uncle's grandson, he was about 30, so he wasn't like a little kid though, but he had little kids. I didn't know this cousin super duper well because I have a large family. I don't like know everybody. But sadly, he was actually shot in Milwaukee, and he did not survive.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad I didn't get to know this cousin super well, but it just kind of makes me sad knowing that this does happen in my own family. So, um,
Do you think there's enough programs, music programs for these kids? Because I think a lot of these kids love music. They just don't have the opportunities in school to learn about
yeah,
music.
yeah, that's something that I am really worried about because I I know that especially for black and brown children, or just really a lot of children of color, because a lot of times we're in neighborhoods that there are school districts that they don't really fund, that have the funding to have like dedicated string teachers or band teachers or anything like that. And a lot of these kids I know would benefit as an outlet, a positive outlet, because I know that that's how I've benefited. I mean, I know that I went to a good, so I shouldn't say good, but like a school that's well to do. It's the school I went to, like K through 12, was predominantly European Americans, white people. So we had the funding, but then sometimes like I could kind of see like with my own parents that like, yeah, that's like the orchestral music was like as like a career, like that wasn't something that they understood because that there was no like cultural connection. And especially learning like a musical instrument like the violin or the clarinet or anything like that.
People don't realize that in the black and brown community, they're savants. They're
Mhm.
young people
Yes.
who can just pick up an instrument with
Hmm.
amazing precision and just natural skill without even they'll see something and they'll be able to copy it immediately without question. But
Yep.
I don't think they get enough exposure. There's so much talent out there in those communities that are not getting exposed to this type of music. I love classical music, but
Hmm.
my family doesn't like. I listen to everything. I'm rap,
Yeah. Yeah.
country.
Same
I'm
here. Same
very
here.
very diverse when it comes to my music.
Hmm.
But people don't understand the talent that's out there that's not being cultivated like it should. So yes, you're going to see a disproportionate amount of Caucasians in symphonies than you are going to see African Americans or Hispanics doing the same thing. And I think a
Hmm.
change has to be made in that because I think music, people love music. It's an expression of how you feel. It's emotion. People put it on the page. They
Hmm.
sing it on the microphone. I don't care if you're
Yep.
rapping or you're singing jazz or the blues. It's an emotion that you can let out. It's therapy for people. You notice when people get depressed, what do? First thing they do is they sit down, they click on their iPod or they click on the YouTube music and just listen to music because it puts them in a space where they can think. It puts them in a
Hmm.
space where they
Hmm.
can feel safe. It's like a safe zone. Music is like a safe zone for a
Hmm.
lot of people because it knows
Yep.
it can't hurt you. And there's so many different styles of music that it can fit anybody's personality at that point that they want to listen to. So for you, is there anything moving forward that you're working on that you want to let people know about?
Well, I got three events coming up. Um, well, they're one's in Madison and the other two are in Milwaukee. I have been a part of the Lullaby Project as a teaching artist, helping expecting mothers, teen mothers as well, write lullabies to their children and or they're expecting children if they're expecting as well.
That's beautiful.
Yes, we were I my songwriting partner. His name is Sam Taylor. We wrote a song for a young lady and her young son. So that event, it will be at the Overture Center of April 30th at
Mhm.
9:30 a.m. There's like an in-person and a live stream options available. And May 22nd at 4 p.m. is the annual Black String Triage open rehearsal. It's an open rehearsal. It's like a concert, but it's not because we don't perform but we don't profit off of Black Death. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
So it's like we it's like a so when we go out and perform, it's not really like a concert because again, it's just like it's kind of like a
You're
kind of a
just trying to
tag.
give back. You're trying to give back in
Yes,
your own way. Yeah, I
yes.
understand. So do you travel outside of Wisconsin, or is everything you do in Wisconsin?
For the most part, it's in Wisconsin. I would like to travel more, but just kind of the pandemic has made it a little bit difficult. Also, I'm a substitute teacher, I was a long term and a building substitute teacher. So I'm going to be in Wisconsin at least through the end of the that was it through the middle of June. So gonna be
So
a
do
little bit hard.
so do you
Oh,
teach music in the school?
I have subbed in general music a couple of
Okay.
times, several times, and I probably get the first pick because I have a degree in music. Oh, also I wanted to mention that there is a Juneteenth concert coming up on Saturday, June 18th at 3 p.m. And that's with the Black Diaspora Symphony Orchestra. So yeah, there's a couple events coming up. That hopefully any of the viewers who happen to be in the Wisconsin area, are welcome to come. Love to see. So,
So do you perform outside, or this is in buildings, gyms? Like where is the settings for the
oh,
concerts?
the Black String Triage Ensemble and the Black Diaspora Symphony Orchestra, they're going to be outside um, at the Washington Park Band Shell. It's like it was a it was a building, according to David. He said that it was built for like the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, but then some things happened and it got defunct. So it's like a largely open building. And sometimes they have, other concerts, not necessarily, like orchestral music for Black people, just, all members of the community can sign up. But yeah, it's just largely gonna, yeah, it's just gonna be held there. It's outside. There's seats, bleachers, probably have picnics. I don't know.
So how typically
But
how long does the concerts last?
so the open rehearsal, I believe, is like just like 2 hours maybe, and I think also with the Juneteenth concert, we're still kind of getting the set list, the
Yeah.
program nailed down. But it's at least Black String Triage Ensemble. That's all music by Black and Brown composers. And I know that at least from this past June, we played music from all types of composers
So
as well. So,
who's your biggest African American composer or Black composer? Period. Who's your
hmm,
biggest influence when it comes to classical music?
you know what? That's a very good question because growing up, I didn't really know too many Black composers. I mean, the ones that I thought about as composers were usually more the jazz, but I like John Coltrane. I really like Giant Steps because it's like a really it's a song that uses a lot of chords, and I like a lot of different chords, and so that's kind of how I can just say it without going into too many details. But I do like John Coltrane. I'm not like a diehard fan like some other people, but I'd say Coltrane is the closest.
So where can my guests find you? Where can they see some of your work? Have you posted anything online? Is there any websites they can see you perform at?
Well, I know that there might be some more links with the Black String Triage Ensemble. I can give you the website. link, but there's also been some news media outlets that have posted it on their sites as well. And I don't know if there's a blog, but the Black String Triage Ensemble's website is theblackstringtriageensemble.org.
.org. Okay. So my guests can click on there and then check her out and check out some of the
Oh,
rehearsals.
and my personal website is amread8.com. That's my personal website.
So you're not a big on social media. No, you're not,
Oh, I would like to be bigger, but I use the username amread8 for all the major platforms like Facebook. Facebook's like my personal Facebook, but like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, Spotify as well. I do have a Spotify link.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
if you would like, I could send you some more links if you want to add
Yeah, of
some
course.
more of
Cause
your
yeah, because
description tags.
I want people to know you. I want people to understand what you do because, like I said, I think there's a disparity between classical music and a lot of people don't know a lot of composers. Like you're the first composer that I've actually spoken to. I've talked to a lot of musicians. I've talked to a rapper. I've talked to a person that owns a production company in music, but I've never actually talked to somebody who writes their own music. I find it very, very interesting. It's not easy to do. I mean, it might be easy for you because you've done it for so long, but for somebody like me, if I'm looking at music notes, I'm like, it looks like gibberish to me because I don't understand it.
Mm.
I know once those things are stringed together, it makes a beautiful melody. It makes a beautiful sound. I just can't read what's on the page, and I don't think a lot of people can. So I think this is where I say, we need to bridge the gap on music because somebody can sing it and somebody can play it, but they just can't read or write it. And I think
Yeah.
that's starting to become a lost art form of music is composing your own music, writing your own melody.
Yeah, it is, but I just hope that a lot of people, like you said, will just kind of like understand like it's all the same music really. It's just a different way that we try to record it and so we can have other people listen to it or perform it again. It's all the same, you know. And I don't want to gatekeep anybody. Like I don't think, oh, if you listen to rap, you're just not getting it. Like no, that's not true.
All right.
It's like that's an art form. I'm like amazed and marvel at like some of these rappers. Like man, that's really clever with like the wordplay and all. And it's like wow, I wish I could do that, you know. But
I tell everybody rap and country is almost the same to me, except one is slowed down, the other one is
yeah,
not. It
it
both,
is.
both are talking about cars and money and girls, friends. It's the same stuff. It's just one is
Yep,
slowed down, the
yep,
other one is faster. So,
yep,
that's why
yep.
you have a lot more collaborations going on between rappers and between country singers because it's the
It's the
same.
same.
It's the same. It's just a different
Like
style of them doing it.
it's like jazz and classical music are a lot the same, pretty much. Like the language, a lot of the language that's used is largely the same. Well, I don't know if it's just more like Eurocentric, but that's beside the point. It's all we're all connected. That's just the truth,
So
you know.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a very intriguing conversation. People need to understand that mental health is a serious thing, and we need to find ways to help people who need help because it can leave devastating results because you're not just leaving. You're just not leaving your family. You're leaving anybody who's ever cared about you. So I'm
Hmm.
glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're doing what you love to do. I appreciate you coming on the show. We're gonna have you. We have to have you back later on in the year. Give me some updates on what's going on. I
Sure
appreciate you
thing.
coming on the show. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you folks later. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks.